All right, so welcome to our final Wink case discussion of the year. As always, I want to acknowledge that I am coming to you from Aboriginal land, and in Adelaide, South Australia, that is Kaurna land. Always was, always will be. And we are joined obviously by Deb, and hopefully other people join us soon. So Deb, you have a case you want to talk about, and then if we have time before you need to head off, because I know you need to head off early, I have some kind of random questions and fun facts that I can share, which are not essential, but I thought I'd kind of holiday it up a little bit. So I've got your email in front of me, but did you want to talk through the case yourself?
Yeah, so I started seeing a couple with a 26-month-old back in September, sorry.
Mm.
And the child presented initially with delayed sleep onset, requiring a parent to be with her all the time.
Mm.
And but once asleep, slept through the night. The
Mm-hmm.
parents have a split level house, so bedrooms are upstairs, living spaces, kitchen, etc., downstairs. And the configuration of the bedroom was right near the stairs. So they had the door open and also have a skylight in that stairwell area. So
Mm.
hard to get complete darkness happening.
Mm.
The
Mm-hmm.
child uh, preferred not to have the door shut.
Okay.
And normally when I work with families, I instruct them, well, I encourage them not to have the door shut because we just want the child to learn to stay in their room rather than there being a barrier
Mm.
to prevent
Mm-hmm.
them getting out. Anyway, I did modified extinction method to begin with, and the first night it took 2.5 hours for her to finally get to sleep. So I guess she built up a lot of sleep pressure. There was lots of screaming,
Mm.
lots of getting out of bed, putting her back. The next night it was down to I think 45 minutes from memory, and
Yeah.
slept right through. But on the third night, and for the rest of the time that they did that therapy, the child became very anxious and started waking up during the night and repeatedly getting out of bed,
Okay.
completely losing her mind.
Mm.
So we tried a little bit of bedtime fading, which
Yeah.
had a worse effect on the child. She became so overtired that she completely lost the plot. So
Okay.
the parents weren't keen to do that. I did suggest to them to try that we could try waking her up a bit earlier so she could resume a normal bedtime, wake her up a bit early, but they weren't keen to do that. So since we finished therapy, I've had a couple of follow-ups with them, and the child's kind of gone on to being really great and then slipping back to, again, these uh, bedtime tantrums. So that's happened a couple of times. And this week I just received another email to say that they felt the child had gone right back to the beginning again. Just
Mm.
to give a bit of background to the family, the mum a few times a month works away from home, so she's not there to do bedtime settling. And the
Okay.
child is quite, focused on having mum around.
Yeah.
The dad is usually the one that contacts me, and he always seems to paint a worse scenario that when I speak to both parents, and the mum does some explaining. The way she describes what's going on never seems as worse as how the dad's like panic and his description.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the dad's feeling it a lot more, you think?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. He also experiences all these huge behavioral issues when mum's away and he has to do the settling.
Mhm. Oh, okay. That's really tough. And so mum works away, how often?
Oh, no, look,
Twice a
once,
month.
twice a month.
Yeah. And is that just one night?
I think so, yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, poor kid and poor family. They're going through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's such a
So,
tricky little person to get
mm,
this right.
mm,
Initially, too, this is kind of worth mentioning. When we started off, the parents had this dialogue around leaving the child, and they would say to her, "Mama's going to the next room." So that was their normal dialogue, and the
yeah.
child would then lie in bed quite happily, but keep saying over and over, "Mama's in the next room. Mama's in the next room." So the parents then felt that they couldn't go away from the next room and go downstairs and do their normal thing because
Oh,
the
okay.
child kept repeating, Mum is in the next room. So they were afraid that if she went in the next room, they're not going to be there and she was going to freak out. And I did encourage them to change that dialogue to not say any dialogue around where they're going to be, just say good night, see you in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And do they do that?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just kind of flipping between everything going well and then now, going back to square one.
Yeah.
The only solution I've got at this point is that we do some early morning waking, see if we can get her to go to bed even 15 minutes later and then
Mm,
15 minutes earlier waking and see if we can build up some sleep pressure.
yeah. Agreed. Do they do a sleep diary?
Yep.
Yeah. And is the sleep fairly regular otherwise?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
she
Okay.
has a short nap at her childcare centre
Hmm.
when she goes there, but when she's home on the weekend, she never has a nap.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's another opportunity for increasing sleep pressure if they feel like it. How many days a week is she in childcare?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but maybe three or
Mm.
four.
Yeah, okay. So like at least half the week. So an option. Mm. Yeah, okay. So you said the modified extinction was initially helpful. So do you want to walk me through like what you did and how that went?
Yeah, I just did the normal increments of starting off at 2 minutes and then intervening and
Yeah.
increasing it to 5 minutes for the first night. So that first night took 2.5 hours to get her to
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah, she was a very determined young child to keep them
Yeah, and
awake that long.
they describe that anyway. She's I think a little bit of a control freak for a 2-year-old.
Yeah, and that's really hard for her as well because a lot of it's out of her control. Like the fact that mum's away, um, semi-regularly, like it's once a fortnight really. So, and if she's like quite distressed when mum's away, then she's feeling out of control with that, which is just, you can't help it. The mum needs to do work. Um, but yeah, from the kid's perspective, she's obviously not yet developmentally able to understand, oh no, mum just goes away twice a month. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal. Like for her, it's like, where's she gone? Why did she leave me? Which is really tough. I
Yeah.
wonder, does the mum go out without the kid much? Like, does she ever go out for like dinner with friends and stuff? Yeah.
We've talked about that, and we did
Mm.
set up while I was doing that week with her for her to go out, and she said she'd just go to the local pub and have a beer
Okay. Yeah.
and
Good.
have some time alone, so that Dad
Yeah.
could do a little bit more of that settling, so we could see what was going on without
Yeah.
happening.
Okay.
At the last follow up with her, I also encouraged her to try ringing the child when she's on that night away and she says good night and does a kind of virtual tuck in, bed tuck
Okay.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
See how that went, but I don't know how that went.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Be helpful in hearing your voice. Um, so when you say that you kind of finished up therapy a little while ago, is that because they got to a point where they were quite happy with it?
Yeah, yeah, it was. Everything was
Mm.
coming along. The
Mm.
follow-up still needed um, a few tweaks, but we definitely got there in the end. And
Hmm.
now things have gone backwards again.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
as you said, the only things that I can think of modifying at this point are the naps and then just trying to increase her sleep pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And um, yeah, having more like I guess that exposure to mum not being there is good, which is why I ask about the mum, going
Yeah.
out at some of the nights as well. I wonder also because it sounds like the child is particularly attached to the mum putting her to sleep. So is there room for the dad to always do it?
I don't think he always does it. I think they try to, co-share the experience
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
both home together,
When
which
they're
I
both there.
always encourage them to,
Mm.
don't leave it to one parent.
No, that's true. Sometimes what I've done with some families, and it does mean that it's all on one parent, but if the mother is the focus of the distress at being away, I say let's just do dad for a while. And just to break the cycle of needing someone to be there, particularly the mom, but also then in the night potentially. if that happens. Although even through all this, she's not woken up in the night, has she?
No, she only started really waking up during the night once we started the modified extinction. That kind of
Mm,
triggered some um, distress. The
yeah,
doctor said she was just so distressed and distraught. I mean, the dad
yeah.
even sent me a video of her temper tantrum, which I
Oh
looked at.
dear.
That's just a normal 2-year-old having.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
for
and the
them, it
fact,
was not.
no. Oh gosh, that's tough. And the fact that he sent it to you, um, shows how much they're not like handling her behavior, and they really need that external validation that it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, tricky,
Do you
tricky.
think even, I mean, I don't think we could even try melatonin as just a means of helping to build up her sleep pressure and break this cycle of behavior, because I don't think they'll
Mm.
give it to her under 3. I don't think the doctor will prescribe it.
Potentially, I don't know. We've had it in younger kids, so it's an option if the family are up for it. It's something that I always talk about quite carefully and say, it's a short-term thing and we want to
Yeah.
have a low dose and just like a circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it is an option, and a doctor may or may not, be comfortable with it for a young child, but I've seen it in even younger kids, when they do kind of need that support. Um, if if they're open to, trying bedtime fading, and whether, like you said, doing like 15 minutes later,
Mm.
um, in the evening and maybe a little early in the morning as well, like you mentioned, um, might be a bit of a compromise. Why were they not keen on getting her up earlier? Was it just not practical for them?
Yeah, I guess so. I can't remember the reason why, but they weren't
Mm,
keen on doing that.
okay, yeah. Yeah, it is helpful to revisit it because the research that we've done suggests that bedtime fading or sleep restriction, however you want to call it, can help that separation anxiety all on its own, even without actively dealing with it. So I feel like that's going to be a really good tool that they have, that
Yeah,
if they can, and it might be that they're like, oh, 15 minutes is too much. Okay, let's start with 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and just make it really gentle. Because a lot of families will say to me, oh, if we keep her up late, she'll be overtired. I'm like, okay, we're not talking about just keeping her up really late, just one night out of the ordinary. Like
that's right.
it's going to be like structured and it's going to be slow. So yeah, as you're already thinking, I'd suggest that'd be good.
Do you think it would be necessary to keep restricting over time if she doesn't cope well with being overtired?
mm,
Or just keep her like if I was able to compromise with them and say 15 minutes to bed later, 15 minutes up earlier, could
mm.
could that be enough time over a week or two to build up enough sleep pressure? I
Yeah,
mean,
I would think so,
yeah.
especially if well, how long does she take to fall asleep at the moment?
I think she got down to like 15 minutes pretty quickly. She'd stay in her own room. She didn't need a parent there. Everything was
Mm.
going really well.
Yeah, and so now that they said that they're back to square one, do you know what that looks like?
I don't. I haven't spoken to them since
Yeah,
this week, but he said
yeah.
back to how it was before. So,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
even when I look at the sleep diaries, I don't think from their description that the sleep diary, fits the picture that well.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes there's context that's missing, but it may be that for them a bit of reassurance as well for how far they've come and what they've learned. Because they sound like a family that's struggling. And like you said, you watching this video as an objective person, it's like that's just a 2-year-old. They're obviously not in a state to see it that way, and maybe eventually they will. But right now, it's probably quite heightened that it's all so
Yeah.
difficult and so emotional. And when you have a toddler who's screaming for 2.5 hours, I can see why.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
older parents, they're probably around the 40
Mhm.
mark, 40 years
Yeah.
mark. And it's their only child. So,
Mhm.
it's not like they've got another child that they've
Yeah,
been
to
up to
compare.
compare on.
Yeah, and yeah, wonder their social supports and comparisons in their friendship group.
I don't think so. They're both from overseas.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm
All
not sure.
right. Yeah, so maybe part of that is like that reassurance, the normalizing of the behavior, the normalizing of the sleep problem, like expecting a 2.5-year-old to um, have perfect sleep. She's not even 2.5 actually. Um, that's there's a certain amount of what's realistic, and then like we need to help the child sleep and to help them be able to get the kid sleeping independently. But there's got to be a balance, and having a bit of a tricky night here and there is within normal limits, absolutely. Um, and perhaps depending what their sleep diary looks like now, like bringing out the very first one and like having a comparison and saying what's
Yes.
different from there to here, because it feels like you're back to square one, but what have you learned? What's behind all of this, that is actually better than when you started. And they obviously had success with you already, which is brilliant. So that will help, boost them through it. But yeah, reminding of like how far they've come, even if it feels like they're kind of taking a few steps back. Um, yeah, and I guess, yeah, I mean, it's so sleep pressure, that modified extinction, and if it worked last time, then it should work again. And if they need to, um, I don't know, change up the bedtime routine to make it more positive for everyone, like are they doing fun things that are in the kids' interest? There are games they can play where mum hides for a little while and the kid has to find her, and so that's her like learning that separation, but in a fun way. Um, like different kinds of games, like finding treasure in the dark with the torch, like those little kind of game-based things that can be a bit of exposure to being on her own in the dark, or with a nightlight on potentially, in a way that feels positive and comfortable, that they can
Yeah,
play with
that's a good
her.
idea. I hadn't thought of that. They do have a sequence of things that they do just that I do with Nine because of the resources that I developed, and they're all working
Mm,
really well.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
I've just never seen this level of anxiety happen before in a child where the problem
Mm,
was really only getting them to sleep, and then suddenly they started doing this night waking, and like it went on for
mm.
weeks and weeks of waking up and them taking her back to bed, just her getting up over and over and over again. So I felt kind of bad because I now
Mm.
introduced a new problem through the
Oh,
therapy.
sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. And as the sleep therapist, you're like, what have I done to this poor family? I've definitely been in that position before. And for kids, especially the little ones, any change is going to be met with resistance. And um, her learning that like people, like the mum and dad, they're not going to come straight to me when I cry. It's a learning process and it's a really tricky one because she's not expected to understand why it's good for her in the long run. And
Mm,
so like it's going to be normal for her to wake up in the night, as we know.
yes,
That's just that sleep architecture. And so previously, perhaps she felt comfortable. If I call out, they'll come to me. And so, like, I'm actually quite sleepy. I'll just go to sleep. It's fine. And then for those, couple of weeks or whatever it was, um, knowing, okay, they're actually not going to come to me if I call, or at least they're not going to come straight away. Um, while she was still learning to process that new skill, like it would have increased her anxiety perhaps in the short term. But
yeah,
it is a short-term pain, long-term gain, this modified extinction. Um, and that in itself might be a bit of reassurance as well, is that we don't expect it to get better the first night or even the first week or two. It can take a little while to settle in.
well, I mean, now we're 3 months down the track and she's gone back, way,
She's
way
gone
back.
back again. Yeah, and so that would be a good question. Like, what has triggered this? Like, did she get
Yeah,
sick and they brought her in their bed or something? Like, which is natural, absolutely.
that's
But
right.
then, like, what has led to it going back? Like, what kind of strategies have they maybe not stuck to as strictly? Has the routine got a little lax? Uh, like what has changed? Break that down. Come back to the psycho edge because we know it really well, but they probably need a refresher. Um, and reiterate the sleep pressure is going to be important, the modified extinction. But yeah, and I think then on top of that, playing those kind of bedtime related games won't just increase the skill of the child being able to be comfortable and like feel positive in the dark. It'll actually do that for the parents as well, because what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, is that we have an anxious child and a set of anxious parents. And she's going to feed that off of them. And if the dad's really highly strung, especially when the mum's not there, and if the mum's a bit highly strung here and there, like they could all do with a reset, like just take the pressure off. Let's just make it calm, make it happy, make it
Yeah,
positive. Um, and that should hopefully like tell the child like this is a positive thing. Like I don't need to be scared or anxious. Like mum, dad are in control, and this is we can have fun with this as well.
yeah,
So that might be another part of the puzzle that they might be missing.
yeah. I mean, I think she's only little, and I'm not sure that, even cutting back that nap or keeping her awake is a good thing at this point because she probably doesn't need that nap.
Yeah, so have a look at the sleep diary. So depending how her sleep actually is, she may not need too much of an increase in sleep pressure. It could still be helpful in the short term, but it doesn't need to be a huge reduction. If she
Mm.
still needs the nap, then go for it. The fact that she's having it only some of the days of the week, though, I wonder how much she needs it at all, and if that could be better moved to the nighttime. But I don't know.
Well,
That's trial and error.
the daycare center is one of those centers that doesn't allow for any individuality with the children. It's when it's nap time,
Um,
they all go and have a
they
nap.
just
Like
do it.
they all have to stay on a bed or on a mattress, whatever they choose.
Oh, that's tough.
I know it's not really good sleep science to do that. That it's just
No.
we're all the same. We're all going to have a nap at 12 o'clock, and you're all going to do
Mm.
it irrespective of whether you sleep or not.
Okay, just disregards developmental differences between children.
Yeah,
Presumably, at some point, the kids get older and drop their nap, though. So I wonder how that goes. And um, is this child ready to move up to the next room, for example, where they don't have such strict rules? Because not every
yeah,
kid's going to nap. I mean, this is a bit young to drop her nap completely, but it's not unheard of.
yeah.
So that's bizarre. Yeah, I'd ask about that and what kind of compromise. And maybe they just need a letter from the sleep therapist to give them some kind of authority to say like, you know, it's actually going to be good for her to have a shorter nap or no nap at all. I don't know. Yeah, just trial and error that with the parents, whatever's comfortable. If you can't drop it, then so be
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, yeah. But on those nights, she wouldn't have as much sleep pressure as she does on the nights where she doesn't have a nap. So that inconsistency in the week, I don't know what that's doing um, for
She
her
was
biological.
doing really well. They do see her very tired when she gets home from the center.
Okay. Yeah.
She's definitely ready for bed at normal bedtime.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
haven't expressed that being a problem.
Okay. All right.
And she is so sensitive to being overtired anyway, hence their desire not to, do
Not
any
to increase.
exertion.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll see how they go, see what's comfortable, and see if there's room to maybe then just focus on the bedtime and wake time a little bit. But yeah, there's only so much sleep pressure can do for a kid who's really anxious. Like that's why
Yeah.
those other strategies, like gradual exposure, the modified extinction. Um, there's different methods with the modified extinction as well. If the like increasing increments doesn't work for her, if she wants to do like a random increment instead, so she's not like up waiting for them to come back necessarily, like 2 minutes, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, like just coming
Oh,
in to
okay.
check in. That is a method. What is it called?
I
Um,
consider that.
yeah, it's the excuse me drill. Let me see if I can.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's not.
And it's more suitable for older children. And I guess this child is kind of getting to um, the upper age limit for doing that classic kind of control crying with a modified extinction.
Yeah.
So yes, here it is. I'll pop it. Oh, okay. I have to enter my details together. If you can't get the actual article, I can email it to you. I'll pop a link in the chat, and hopefully you'll at least have access to the
I'm going to have to go.
abstract.
Um,
Sorry,
I'm
yes,
sorry
that's
that I
fine.
can't stay, but
That's all
thank
right.
you for all of that input. I will
Mm,
definitely have a talk to them about all that, see how we
yeah,
get on.
yeah, brilliant. Thank you for
So
joining. Looks like it'll
you're
be a
most
short one
welcome.
today.
I'll just grab this link before I go.
Yes, yeah, and please do send me an email if you can't access it. I can try and send it through to you, but it's essentially oh, excuse me, I've just got to go get a glass of water. I've just got to go take the bins out, like something that's
Well, I actually
boring.
do that, but for older children.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, if this kid's quite like stubborn, like maybe she's ready for it. Something that's yeah, a bit more, I don't know, different to what they've tried if they need something that's yeah, different
Yeah.
tactics. So anyway, see how you go. Best of luck with
All
that.
right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thank you. Merry Christmas as well. See you later,
Bye
Deb.
bye.
All right. So for those who are watching the recording, I prepared a little kind of fun facts about sleep thing. And so I'll show that now just because I put it together and might as well. So let's share a screen. Oh, and go here. There we go. All right, hopefully that's working. So what I put together are just some fun facts, which will not take very long to go through. So I put these in the link on the Facebook invite and thought that I might share them here. So the first thing that I said, does eating a lot of Christmas food or Christmas pudding affect our circadian rhythm? And I had a look, and as you're probably already aware, that yes, it probably does. So the circadian rhythm is tied quite closely with our metabolism, our metabolic system. Obviously, when we eat lots of food, our metabolism activates, and that heat that is generated by our metabolism is also connected to the circadian system. And so there is a article which I had a look at, which I haven't actually put the authors in here, but the energy balance, apparently, according to this article, is a really important part of that metabolic processes. So any kind of energy imbalance can be associated with like heart disease and other medical issues related to an imbalance in the circadian system. So would eating a lot of Christmas pudding affect our energy balance or cause an energy imbalance? Yes, probably would. As many of us probably experienced getting to the end of a Christmas day or Boxing Day or whatever works for your family, you may find yourselves very full and very lethargic, and you may not sleep that well. Who knows? Give it a go, see what happens. I don't think anyone wants to decrease their amount of Christmas food intake. So that's just for your knowledge. So the next fun fact, does sleeping in over the holidays affect our circadian rhythm as well? Yes, sadly. So most of us really love that sleep in that we get, but as we know, our circadian system for sleep in particular is really entrained by having light hit our retinas, activating the suprachiasmatic nucleus and suppressing melatonin, and that will then help us sleep the next night. So if our eyes are closed while we're asleep, then obviously we're not getting light to the retinas, the suprachiasmatic nucleus is not activated, and we are not suppressing melatonin. However, we are all sleep experts here, so it doesn't really matter. We know what to do to fix it. So all of our bright light strategies, getting back into regular sleep patterns, should kind of solve it within a few days or a week or so. So yeah, that's good news. All right, and then the last thing that I thought I would chat about is tips for regulating our sleep over holiday breaks. So for a lot of us, we may have had child or teen clients or people that we've worked with in different settings who really look forward to the school holidays, and all they want to do is sleep in, and that means they'll stay up later and they'll sleep in later again. And by the time they get back to school at the start of the year or after their Christmas break, they find it very hard to regulate again. So it is going to be really important that for those kids and teens, if they need a little sleep in, they can probably have it. But if they're really delayed teen, then they would already know that it's not a great idea. So getting caregivers, parents on board to help regulate their sleep timing is going to be good, encouraging them to not sleep in too late, get as much bright light as possible, and then making sure that they go away armed with some sort of bright light strategy with those kind of gradually early wake ups. So making sure that they are saying, if you sleep in till 10, which is not ideal, then the next day get up at 9:30 and then 9 o'clock and 8:30. And especially in that week before going back to school after the break, making sure that they are in as much a regular sleep pattern as possible with that bright light so that they can start the new year as successfully as possible. I'm sure there's lots of other tips for regulating sleep over a holiday break. So you would have your own, and there's other things like making sure your sleep hygiene, and getting on top of that bedroom environment, any caffeine intake or alcohol intake that also needs to be looked at in terms of our circadian system. All right, so I will leave that there. Not sharing my screen. So thank you again to Deb for joining, and thank you for those who are watching online. I hope you all have a lovely holiday break and a lovely Christmas if you celebrate it, and I will see you in the new year.